Hello there, and welcome to my speech, The Icebreaker, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. When I started to write this speech a few days ago, I had a strong idea of the concept of me that I wanted to get across. So I had to look at some how-tos on the internet to see if there's any structure to an icebreaker. And well, there isn't. So that's the complete opposite to me. I'm half Irish, half English. So what's so interesting about that? Lots of people in Ireland are of an English heritage. Well, in my experience, no one feels the divide in themselves as much as me. Now, just about myself. I'm 27, I'm going to be 28. I've been living in Drogheda for 4.5 years as I got a job in science here, and then I met a boy, and I'm still here. Presently, I'm attending Trinity College Dublin, pursuing a PhD in geography after obtaining a master's in environmental engineering from Queen's in Belfast, so I'm quite well educated. So I come from two fairly strong families. They have quite similar but different backgrounds. My father's name is Crockford, and he is the descendant of a knight with a fairly famous but small heritage. For example, the Crockford Directory has all the contact details of the rectors in the Anglican Church. We will go, okay? And so yes, of the Crockfords, there's of them, 98% of them are British, 96% of them are English and from the south, so we're all basically connected to each other. And a favourite story of mine of Crockford's is how they ended up in Wales. About the time of 1492, when Christopher Columbus he discovered the New World, the Crockfords thought this would be a great time to move and spread the roots of our family. So they commissioned a boat and they set sail from Cornwall. And they sailed for loads of months, ages. And then they landed, and they realised they'd gone in a big circle and landed in Tenby in Wales. And there's still a strong presence of our family there today. The branch of Crockfords that I'm a member of is my extended family in Kent. My dad is the youngest of 8 boys and has a younger sister. Each of them has had children, and they've had children. So the most startling news at Christmas time was my first cousin has retired. So basically, my dad was born 6 months before Germany invaded Poland, which means I have grown up with stories of the Blitz, being an evacuee, escaping the Leeds by stowing away on the train at age 8, allotments, not having enough meat to eat, and then also the strong presence of the armed forces in my family. And I could go on and on and on, but I won't. But that's half of me anyway. My mother's name is Oman. And the story goes that we are descended from a pirate called his first name is William. And he discovered the country of Oman. Well, he did. We are actually descended from all the Vikings, and our family name used to be Ostman. But when we moved from Scandinavia to Scotland, we decided to drop the ST because we didn't want to be Vikings anymore. So we're Oman. And so we're obviously descended from the British, but actually Scottish minds this time. And there's not that many of us either, like Crockfords. So, having said all that, I feel extremely Irish because I have a strong love of the Irish language, of history, and of music, and that's because of my mother. And she would often talk about her growing up in Ireland in the 50s and 60s, and of the love story between my nana and my granddad in the early in the 1930s. Also, I am aware of our input into 1960 Rising, the Bugle playing, and the strong Catholic values of that side of the family. Our family farm is in Carbery, County Kildare, and that's still actually owned by my uncle who has a shooting club there. And often she would describe the delight of space and countryside, which I'm sure is why we now live in the hills of Wicklow. Well, I don't live there anymore, but they do. So, one thing that I want to say was that I was brought up in a school that was a Church of Ireland prep school. So we didn't have Irish pushed on us. But then in the boom time, it became apparent that the children wouldn't be leaving the Irish shores, that we would be attending schools here. And we then had to sit the junior certificate. So when I was about 10, there was a shift in attitude towards Irish. In about 2 years' time, I managed to catch up on my Irish, and I went on to get a C2 in my leaving certificate, which I'm very proud of. And I'm a great advocate for having Irish in the leaving certificate, for these to be taught better. So that's me. I'm 2 halves, English and Irish. There's no light yet. So this brings to the crux of my story. 2011 was a year that meant a lot to me, because it was the year that the Queen finally came to visit. And when she stood in the garden with President McAleese, it had a tremendous effect on me, because it felt like my 2 halves, which had been really so separated for such a very long time, had finally amalgamated into one. And I hope that was sufficient for you all.